Welcome back to this episode of Mom Talk. And on this episode, we're going to be talking about something that Victoria and I did different with our kids. We're going to talk about co-sleeping and sleep training. And Victoria did sleep training with her kids, and I'm definitely not against it. I just didn't know anything about it, so she's going to tell us about it today. And I didn't have to do it because I was so blessed with Emma that
she was just perfect.
She was a perfect angel and started sleeping through the night at 8 weeks old.
And never looked back.
She still sleeps so good. I even had a mom ask me after I had Emma, like, when do babies start sleeping through the night? And I was like, at 8 weeks. It's just standard. Yeah, like, I didn't know any better. And this poor mom believed me.
You gave her a light at the end of the tunnel?
No, and I still think about it to this day, how terrible that was of me to say.
She probably still thinks of you.
Probably.
Her kid's probably one that, still doesn't sleep at, 9.
Yeah, and I can't believe I did that to her. So, yeah, Emma slept through the night from then on, and she did sleep in our bedroom. I had a pack and play set up, and she would sleep in that next to me. So, I wasn't really sleeping. I wasn't sleeping through the night.
No, you just lay there with your eyes closed.
Yeah. And I made sure she slept, and she was breathing, and I did ask my pediatrician about, when to transition her. He said I should have done it immediately or at 3 months.
And to her own room?
Yeah, I'm like, that's wild to me because then I'll really be a crazy person. Not right next to me where I can check on her every other minute.
No.
And her room was upstairs.
Absolutely not. See, because now you're just doing stairs in the middle of the night.
Yeah, because I would have been running up there. The baby monitor would not have done it for me.
That's not going to, no.
Put you to check on her at that tiny of a little baby age.
Yeah.
Yeah. Prior to her sleeping through the night, Michael and I did have a system. She was bottle fed.
Right.
So he would take the first shift because he's a night owl, and he would be up until midnight for whenever she was up needing a bottle. And then after that, he would come put her in the pack and play, and she would sleep 4 hours. And then whenever she woke up, that would be my turn.
Was that a plan that y'all had in place, mentally before you had her, or?
I think it was, because I had a friend that said that they did that, and I was like, wow, that's really smart, because I told you Michael had all that maternity leave off, so he didn't have to get up super early in the morning, and he's a night owl anyway, so.
Really worked out.
Watching some TV, playing some video games, that did not bother him.
Right, life did not change too much in those hours.
I think he was fine with it.
Yeah.
He was just watching her sleep and staying up late.
I mean, it sounds like a win-win.
And I felt like I could actually get 4 hours of sleep because I knew he was watching her breathe.
Right.
In the other room. I wasn't worried. So that worked out really well for me.
Did anyone else ever, spend the night so you could both get sleep?
I would not allow that.
Okay.
I was too crazy.
So it had to be you or Michael?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, his mom would have done it in a heartbeat. She would have had a room at her house made for Emma.
You had plenty of volunteers.
Yes.
This could have been realistic for you.
Yes, this was only me being crazy.
I get it.
Yeah. And yes, to this day, she sleeps 10 hours a night.
My girl.
I know. She and I both require it. We tell Henry, do not bother our sleep.
You can't.
Your sister has got to get sleep, and so do I.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't need it like we do.
Boys are just, lucky in every aspect sometimes,
I know. So, you didn't have that.
I did not have that. So, Mason didn't like sleep. Still hit or miss on some sleep. He had colic, which was rough. But then, it was really bad. It felt more natural for us. If we are going to be awake all night, we need to be in the living room. Because that's more of a daytime social place. So, even though Mason's crib was in our bedroom, we relocated to the living room.
Okay, but that's so smart to put the crib in your bedroom. I wish I would have thought of that.
I had his crib in every room in our house before he was born.
Just trying them all out?
So, okay, the first room was upstairs, opposite side of the house. And I thought that's what I wanted, where I wanted the nursery to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where we built the crib. And then I was like, you know what? This other bedroom's right over our bedroom, Jarrett. Let's move this across the hall.
Love that better.
And then I think it was before he was born. It might have been right after he was born. I was like, he will be in our room. I need you to haul this crib down the stairs now.
And how much did Jarrett enjoy that?
He never complained.
Gosh, he's
with a smile on his face, he is just lugging around this crib.
I mean, building a crib 3 times.
He didn't build it 3 times. He only built it the once.
You don't have to take it all apart to rebuild it?
He just moved it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He's just like literally dragging this crib across the hallway and then down the stairs and like, tight corners to get it to our, yeah.
Okay.
He made it happen and he did not complain.
With a smile on his face.
And when I think about it now, I'm like, man, I'm mad at me for you.
For that.
I am mad at me for you.
I'm so annoying. Yep.
So, yeah. And I mean, I think we came to sleep training out of desperation for sleep.
Okay, yeah, because I've never heard of that, so I didn't know how you came up with this idea.
Yeah, I don't know how I did either. It's not like somebody was like, oh, you got to do this.
Okay. A late night Google search.
I am like you and Emma. I need my sleep, and I wasn't getting it.
So you
not only was I not getting my preferred, 10 hours, I was not getting 3 hours. It was 3 hours of choppy sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So something had to give. I was desperate. And there was a well check, and I ran it by the pediatrician, and they were like, yeah, if that's something you want to do, it will not permanently scar your baby.
Okay. But they weren't giving out that information.
No,
once
they didn't
you
volunteer it. But if you ask, they're like, oh, yeah.
Okay.
Feel free. He was 4 months old at that point. That's when everything I was Googling recommended. And, I mean, I didn't go with a particular method. It's not like I read an article and was like, yep, that's what I'm doing. I did a hodgepodge of a bunch of things, blended with what I was comfortable with.
So just what worked for you and Mason.
Yeah. So what that looked like was, I'm going to lay you down for 2 minutes. And if you cry for those 2 minutes.
But those were the longest 2 minutes of your life?
No, it was 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then I'd go in the room and hold him, console him, get him comfortable, put him back down. And this time it's 5 minutes. And if you cry for 5 whole minutes. So on and so forth, increasing the times each time.
Okay.
And it was rough because it was all through the night. Every time he'd wake up, that's how
you had
I
to do that again?
Yes. And nap times too.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Just double team it. What did Jarrett think about this? On board? Did he
sleep
through
it? He was on board. Jarrett was actually very involved. Okay. He would wake up in the middle of the night. I mean, from the time we came home, he was great. With a C-section, you can't just get up and grab your baby because it's crying. Mm-hmm. You're in so much pain, you're not moving fast enough. So I would wake him up and be like, give me the baby. Mm-hmm. But the sleep deprivation was getting to him too. He started bringing the cat one night. And I was like, what?
Wrong thing.
I need the human, please. There's still a baby crying. And our cat's large. It's a 20-pound cat. I'm like, I definitely can't hold this cat with my fresh incision.
Too large.
So the sleep deprivation got him too. So he was on board.
Okay.
With sleep training or anything, really.
Anything you brought
And Jarrett does not require sleep. That's how I know this was actual torture tactic sleep deprivation. Mm-hmm. Is because Jarrett was affected by it.
Yes.
I mean, he functions best on 4 hours of sleep. Which I do not understand.
No.
But I knew we were getting consistently less than 4 hours if Jarrett is suffering.
Right.
So he was on board with it. He's also not home every night.
So that third night he was getting a full
He got a full
sleep
night.
In.
Yeah. He got to recoup. And not that my vote counts for more. We're equal parents. But in that circumstance, I think it did count for a little more because I was home every night.
Yeah.
And I didn't get a full night's sleep every third night. And I was very jealous of...
I would be, too. I mean, just talking about sleep, I'm like, I just love it.
I know. I'm like, you really get to go sleep through the night every third night. Mm-hmm. Now, I know, obviously, that's not every night. There could be a burning building. But there's not a burning building every third day.
Right.
There's just not. So, yeah, I was jealous of that. But he was on board with sleep training.
Okay.
And I don't know if I would have cared if he wasn't at that point.
Yeah.
I was suffering.
You gotta trust me.
But Mason really, I mean... If it had gone on longer than it did, I would not have been able to stick to it. But it really lasted, I feel like a week, maybe even less. It was not a long process. It was very quick, which made it manageable for me.
And it worked.
Yeah, it worked. And then once, it was established and I felt like we've made it. I mean, he was still waking up, once a night. And nothing's wrong with that. If you're hungry, I'll feed you. Mm-hmm. But... he would go back to sleep on his own. And it wasn't this dramatic event anymore. And he would sleep longer stretches at a time. And everybody was a little bit happier. But once everything was set in place, I did go back to contact naps. So, I would hold him his entire nap.
Oh, I love that.
I know.
A good
you're
snuggle.
so snuggly. And, the whole point of sleep training wasn't to, not be with him or not be near him. It was really so I could be a better mom and function.
So y'all could both get better sleep.
Right. So, but yeah, we went back to contact naps. I would hold him the whole 2, 3, 4, however long he wanted to nap, I would hold him the whole time and just watch TV or whatever. And it did not mess up our sleep training at night.
Oh, that's so good. It didn't throw him off.
No, it didn't throw him off. We never like backslid at all. I mean, he went through sleep regressions. I think every kid or most kids do.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it was great. Now, what was not so great is that Mason is my first child. And when he was 7 months old, I came home from work one day and Jarrett had moved him to his room.
Without telling you?
It wasn't a conversation.
Just moved his whole crib and him and everything.
Gone poof. No, like, build up to this, no conversation.
And what made Jared do that?
I don't know.
He's just like, it's time.
He's like, this baby's got to go, I guess. Or like, he's old enough now. He's 7 months. He can handle anything.
Did you cry?
Oh, yeah. I was mad.
Yeah.
I was really mad. And I mean, obviously my anger was stemming from just how sad I was.
Yes.
I'm like 7 months.
And there has to be a discussion to move your baby out of your room.
I know. And I know everybody does it at a different point, but he was my first baby and I didn't have a timeline in my head. I think it was 1 in my head.
Mm-hmm.
But no, he was gone at 7 months. So.
How did you sleep that night?
Oh.
Did you?
No, it didn't matter.
Did you go upstairs?
Yeah, I mean, it didn't matter that he was sleep trained. I'm not sleeping now.
No.
I mean, obviously, like with anything else, you get used to it. And Jarrett did offer to bring the crib back downstairs.
He probably, do you think he thought you would react like that?
No.
No. Or he wouldn't have done it.
Right. It was never malicious. He wasn't trying to, like, upset me. He was just like, oh, let me go ahead and move this baby.
Right.
I don't know why we got that wild hair. But Mason was up in his room. I mean, it worked out. It was fine. I did not make him bring the crib back down the stairs. I mean, he did offer multiple times.
I'm surprised you didn't, honestly.
I mean, what's one more time?
I know.
You've moved it so much.
One more time?
But no, it was fine. Sleep training. And then, I mean, once he turned 1, I think the night he turned 1, he decided he was going to sleep through the night every night for the rest of his life.
Okay, great.
And started sleeping 7 to 7.
I love a good 12-hour stretch.
I mean.
And does he still nap now?
He's 4 now, so it's kind of falling off. Like, they still do nap time at school. I still do it on the weekends at home. But he's actually napping less and less.
I was so sad to lose nap time. Emma napped until she was 5 and went to kindergarten, and I wanted her to nap in kindergarten, but they don't do that anymore.
Right.
And before Henry was born, I napped when she naps still. I was like, oh yeah, I'm getting my nap in too.
Good for you.
I'm exhausted.
Not a napper.
Not now anymore, of course, but I did back in her time.
So nice.
And then Henry's nap did fall off sooner. I would say like 3-ish. And I didn't know if it's because Emma wasn't napping anymore or he just really didn't need it. But he was always fine. I mean, he could go without it and it didn't show.
Right.
At the end of the day, if they've missed nap and they need it, it's terrible.
It's bad. But I feel like that's maybe a second child thing because Remy is already trying to drop her nap and she's only 2.
See?
So I'm like, is it because brother isn't?
Right.
Or like you're afraid you're going to miss something?
Right.
But just like you said with Henry, she's not showing that she's missing a nap.
Yeah. Henry didn't act like Emma did if she missed a nap.
Oh, Mason.
Which was scary.
See, that is a hard thing. Mason is not well if he's not rested.
Exactly. I'm like, we can't go anywhere during these 2 hours because it's Emma's nap time, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Like no family lunch, no outings.
Yeah, we're unavailable.
I
do love a schedule.
I know.
And that's something that sleep training did, like, help, too.
Yes, get on a schedule.
Yeah.
I love a routine. I knew I was going to have some sort of routine for my kids in a schedule.
Right.
Like, a daily, whether it was just sleeping, eating, like, because I thrive off of that.
Yes.
So I knew my kids would have something.
I have, like, a bad tendency to, like, even become OCD with a schedule.
Because we love it.
Like, something bad's going to happen if I am off by 30 minutes. It's not rational. But, I mean, sleep training did really help with that, too.
Okay. Then it helped in more than one way.
Yeah, I think it really helped, like, establish a bedtime. Because when I look back at, like, I relive my kids' lives through their pictures. When I'm looking back through the pictures, I'm like, oh, why were you up so late?
Mm-hmm. What's late?
Late for a baby's like 8:30 to me. And I'm just like, well, I mean, I know you were young, but, like, wow.
My kids still have a bedtime, and Emma is in middle school, and she's really pushing that back. So this summer is the first summer. I'm like, okay, I'll be lenient. But
and what is lenient?
Lenient is 9:30.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, they've pushed it to 10:30, and I know some people
but it is summer.
Probably think that's like so crazy of me, but I want to be asleep.
Yes. Do you feel like you have to stay awake as long as they're awake?
I do. I mean, they are older. I'm not worried about what they're going to get into. But, I mean, I still put them to bed.
Right.
We read a story, read our Bible story. We talk about the day. So that's something we still all do together. So, yeah, I definitely feel like I have to be up if they're up. And I want to go to bed. I do still, like, Emma still needs her sleep. And I just think if we get, like, so far off schedule, then to get back on a school schedule is just so much harder.
Yeah. So what is school bedtime?
8:30. Okay. I mean, both of them have sports that can last till 8 or 8:30. So then it might be like we get home and like zip through the tub or shower.
Right.
And go straight to bed. But I mean, Emma has to get up at 5:30 or 6.
So early.
Yeah. It's terrible for me.
Oh, I know.
I don't want to get up that early.
I mean, I don't know yet, but I will.
Yes. So, yeah, I still want her to get enough sleep to make it through her day.
Have your kids ever, like, wanted to have their own bedtime? Or are they good with having the same bedtime? Because I know there's a couple years between them.
So just recently, Emma's like, I want to stay up later. She doesn't care what Henry does. She just wants to stay up later.
Because she's older?
Yes.
Yeah. I was like that,
as she's getting older.
Your kids have about the same age gap as my brother and I do. Mm-hmm. And I remember at some point, I was like, I'm older. I need to stay up later than him.
Right.
Like, this is my privilege.
Yes. And I know a lot of people do base that, like older sibling, different. But honestly, Emma's the one that has to get up earlier. So right now,
it doesn't make sense.
That does not make sense to me.
Yeah.
I get what she's saying, and she definitely has perks of being the older sister. But I'm like, you have to get up so much earlier.
Right.
And you need more sleep. So this one does not make sense to me for you.
Yeah.
I remember when I was in 8th grade, I would beg my mom to stay up. And finally, she was just like, you know what? Get yourself up in the morning then. Bye.
And did you?
Yes.
You're so responsible.
I am. So I was like, okay, I'm going to talk to my friends a little bit longer, and then I'm going to get myself up in the morning.
And you did.
And I did.
That'll be Emma.
That will be Emma.
Yeah, you don't even have to worry about it.
Nope. So, yeah, I see that happening in a year.
Yeah.
Now, they did co-sleep with me.
Okay.
Before we get to Remy and Henry.
Yeah.
They did co-sleep with me. That didn't...
Like from birth?
No. Okay, so when I was married and before I had kids, I was totally against it. Cannot do that. Cannot have kids in your bed. And I would still stick to that. So this did not happen until I was in my home with just my kids.
Yeah.
And I still had them in their own beds. Like we transitioned with them in their own beds, but they were young. And then when Henry got out of his crib and he wanted to start sleeping with me, I was like, I can't say no because now I feel like I don't have a reason. It's just me in this bed.
Yeah, join me.
So
there's plenty of room here.
Why not? And so then Emma was like, well, if he is, then I am. I was like, well, it's a party.
Yeah.
So they were still really little, and we did co-sleep.
How old were they?
So Henry was probably 3, and she would be pushing 6.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So little. And that lasted until super recent. I'm not going to bust Emma out.
Yeah, we can't say the exact age.
But super recent. And I knew they would grow out of it when they got older. So I wasn't in any rush to be like, okay, at this age, you have to sleep in your own room.
Yeah.
Because I just felt like that was just our time to just... I mean, we still obviously talk at the end of the night, but that was our time to, like, snuggle and bond and feel close.
Yeah, and do you think that helped, too? Because, like, they aren't with you every night.
Right. It was
so it's like really taking up like every minute you have with them.
Oh, you know I feel that way.
Yeah.
Every minute I can be as close to them as possible, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't feel like I have to justify it, but to me it was just, okay, here's more time with them.
Yeah, I get it.
And if they're happy, I'm happy. If it makes them...
Right, and this is something they wanted to do. Why are you going to take away a comfort? Just like when they were a baby, they wanted a passy, here's your passy.
I'm all about comforting.
Yeah, so makes sense to me.
Yeah, so we did co-sleep for several years, and I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
So now, when people say it, whether they're married or not, I get it. But prior to, I would have been like, oh no, you maybe shouldn't do that. But now I get it. That's one of those things. Until you're a mom...
You don't know what you're going to do.
You don't know.
Or how you're actually going to feel.
Right. So, yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
And I know some people that do it from birth. That would scare me. I was always afraid, oh gosh, they're just so little. What if I do roll over? What if I actually do sleep tonight and roll over?
Oh, I mean, when I was breastfeeding, I guess it's like relaxing for baby and mom because I would fall asleep and I'd wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, how long have we been like this?
Right.
And it would be like the full 2 hours and like they were about to wake up again. So then I'm like, oh well. Mm-hmm. But it was so scary because I'm like, man, I'm not even like, you're not even laid next to me like in a dog-a-tot or anything.
Right.
You're in my arms. I did not drop you off this bed.
Right.
Thank goodness.
Could be off the bed in a minute.
And you know I'm crazy. Mm-hmm. Like my mind is so wild. I remember being like, what if I started sleepwalking with this baby? I have zero history of sleepwalking.
Okay, I was like, have we done this?
No, I don't sleepwalk.
Okay, but we could have.
In my mind, I'm just going to magically, like, postpartum start sleepwalking.
I mean, crazier things have happened, so.
And I'm going to and will I be aware that I have this baby in my hands? Who knows? Like, I mean, I'm crazy. So, yeah, I could never intentionally go to sleep.
Okay.
But now, okay, Mason's 4, and he never asks to sleep in my bed.
He likes his
space, but the older he's gotten, Jared is a firefighter, so he's gone every third night. Mm-hmm. We have spend the nights. And I'm like, hey, do you want to stay up late? Like, you can eat ice cream in my bed and watch a movie. And he will occasionally, like, that is a good time for him.
Oh, that's
but
so
it's
cute.
a rare thing, and, like, because back to I need my sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And I do prefer my space when I'm sleeping. Like, even Jared, I'm like, can you, like, really get on that side of the bed?
Right.
Please don't be in the middle, because that's also mine.
Yes.
So, yeah, we do some sleepovers occasionally, and I've offered this to Remy, and she is not interested.
No, she's really
I'm like,
good.
hey, do you want to stay up late and, like, sleep in mommy's bed? No. She's like, Remy bed, Remy crib. I'm like, oh.
So she only sleeps in her bed. How does she sleep if y'all go away?
So this is cute. We went to Florida and I took a pack and play. I was like, you can sleep in this pack and play. And she was 1 at the time, I think, 1.5 maybe. She was determined and she climbed out of the pack and play, had no clue she could do it, climbed up into the hotel bed and got in bed with Mason.
Oh, she's like, I'm not sleeping in this when he gets to bed.
No. And because it was like it was a room, like, there was a walkthrough, so they were in their own room. We were in our own room, like, but they were together. Mm-hmm. And there was a kitchen in between.
Okay.
It was a weird setup.
Yeah, that's a weird layout.
Yeah. But, yeah, it was so cute because I peeked in to see, because she had been losing her mind crying, and then, like, I peeked in, and she was in the bed with him, and they were both so sound asleep.
Oh,
it was the cutest thing.
That is so sweet.
But she's gotten older now. We went to Florida this past year, and she slept on, like, a little blow-up mattress thing.
Oh, so she did fine.
Fine. She's not interested in snuggling up with anybody. It's not even, because I remember when I was growing up, I wanted to sleep in my parents' bed. Mm-hmm. I wanted to. And, like, the substitution for that was like, oh, we'll go get in your brother's bed.
Okay. Did you do that?
Sometimes.
Okay.
And sometimes I would, like, just sleep on the floor.
Okay.
Like, outside my parents' room. Like, I just wanted to be close to somebody.
Right.
And, I mean, I understand Carter not always wanting his sister.
Yeah.
In his room.
Right.
That makes sense to me. And sometimes he'd be fine with it, or I'd go in the middle of the night when he was already asleep.
Surprise.
But, yeah, Remy's not like that. She's like, no, don't need anybody. I'm fine.
She's good.
Yeah, even when it's offered. And, I mean, I've even offered, I'm like, do you want to stay up late and just hang out with Mommy? No. Like, she's routine, too.
Okay, well, I can't blame
her. So I can
her.
appreciate it.
Yeah, I cannot blame her.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have to sleep train Remy?
I did sleep train Remy.
Okay.
So with Mason, it was like 4 months because that was recommended. With Remy, she actually ended up in a helmet.
Okay.
Like, she had a flat head.
Okay.
I didn't know she had a flat head, but at one of her well checks, the doctor's like, hey, did you know her head was flat? And I was like, no, what? And then she showed me, and I was like, ooh, it's like a wall. Like, it's flat.
Oh, no.
So we ended up getting her the helmet. She's nice and round now.
She's perfect.
But since I knew that helmet was coming, I prolonged the sleep training. Because in my mind, like, it's not going to be comfortable to sleep with this helmet on your head.
Right.
So let me not add to the torture and sleep training on top of this.
Mm-hmm.
So I waited till 7 months with her. She'd had the helmet for like 6 weeks. And I was like, okay, you can take on one more thing.
Did the helmet bother her?
Not a bit.
Okay. So
and she had to wear it in the heat of summer. Like, she wore it all summer long. She had a sweaty head, but she never once complained or was unhappy or anything. But yeah, 7 months I sleep trained her. Now, Remy was a better sleeper than Mason.
Prior to the sleep training.
Prior to sleep training, she was a better sleeper.
Okay.
It's probably another reason I was able to prolong it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, she did great. I mean, I think she slept through the night earlier than Mason did. She was a solid 12-hour sleeper also. Jarrett did let her stay in our room for the full year.
He knew.
He was not touching that crib until I gave a green light. And two, with moving her upstairs, we were both worried that she would wake up Mason.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
And I mean, he was 1, so, I mean, well, I guess he was 2 by the time she was 1, but they were very close in age, so I didn't want 2 babies up in the middle of the night.
No, nobody wants that.
Nobody needs a helper.
No. So that's smart.
Yeah. So that was, I think, why he was so on board with leaving her in the room for a year, because Mason's room was upstairs. More space between them, less likely to wake up, and it worked out. Mason never once woke up.
Okay,
to her crying.
Okay, so Henry didn't even have a room when he was born. We were building our house. So we were in the middle of building. So in the house we were currently in, we didn't even make him a room. So he was definitely in our room, which was still downstairs. Emma was upstairs. So like you said, we weren't worried about him waking her up. So he slept in our pack and play in the room. I think we did the same setup as with Emma.
I mean, it worked so well with Emma.
I know. I was like, Michael, you got the first shift.
Yeah.
And I've told y'all before, he had the colic, the reflux. I just felt like Henry just could never be fully settled.
Yeah.
And he definitely slept on me because he had to stay sitting up for at least 30 minutes after he was fed. My poor babe.
Oh.
I know. He slept in the swing a lot because he was propped.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was
so much more comfortable.
Yes, and my go-to. Finally had to get out of and you're probably not supposed to do that, but I had to get out of that when he could start turning over. I was like, he's going to flip right out of that swing.
Yeah, that's why you're not supposed to.
That is exactly
Henry,
why.
You're giving the prime example.
I know. So about 9 months is when he finally started sleeping because I think the reflux was better because he could have some real solid foods.
Yeah.
Cut that bottle back some. And then we were in the new house. He had his own room. So at 9 months, he was out of our room. And I was sleeping better because I couldn't hear every little roll he made.
Yeah.
And I put the pillow in there, even though you're probably not supposed to do that either. But I just felt like he was so cozy. Besides sleeping on his pregnancy pillow.
I mean, like me with the sleep training, you did what you were comfortable with.
I was comfortable.
Yeah.
And so was he.
And you're such a freak show in the best possible way that if you were comfortable, it was safe.
Yep.
You knew your baby.
And he was happy.
Yeah.
So if babies are happy and sleeping, then moms are happy. So
yeah, do what you got to do.
Yeah.
And what feels right for you.
Mm-hmm.
But Henry, did he sleep soundly after that? Like he was good to go at 9 months?
I think so. I mean, they both had a couple sleep regressions, like you said, like if it was like a growth spurt or something.
Or if they were sick. I mean, yeah, those things I don't think count.
Yeah, I don't think they count. Nothing crazy. And he is still a good sleeper. He just does not need as much sleep. But he's also super even keel, like constant. Like he's always in a good mood. So the sleep does not affect him. Okay, well, thank y'all for listening to this episode. Don't forget to follow us on our Instagram at MomTalkTN for all the latest updates and all our new shows that are coming out. And thank y'all for listening.
Thanks.
Bye.